Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eternal X Wolf Pack Paranormal. I am your host, Sean Ellis, and tonight we have an amazing show. We're going to take a break from the paranormal tonight, and we're going to talk to a couple guys that do a little bit of hunting, a little bit of fishing, and we may even get into a little bit of Bigfoot. Maybe. We'll see how it goes toward the end of the show here. But anyway, they're from Dills Outdoors, and we will introduce them here in a minute. But we got my co-host tonight, Ms. Gwen Johns. She is the powerhouse producer from All Access Network Television, and she is also the host with me on the new show on Thursday nights, Paranormal Surge. Hey, Gwen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How have you been today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's been one of those days for me, but yeah, we'll get through it.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely It definitely happens. I'm getting tongue tied tonight for whatever reason. But anyway, we have two great guests here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about hunting and fishing, Gwen?
I do a little bit. I live in the South, of course. Of course I do.
Yeah, well, you're kind of a tomboy, if I remember you saying, right? So you done a little bit of hunting and fishing back in your day?
Yes. I definitely have.
All right. So we're going to introduce our guests. They're from Dills Outdoors. And we have Mr. Matt Dills. And we have his dad, Tim Dills. And they are part of Dills Outdoors. How you guys doing?
Doing good. You?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. It's been a little chilly today, and it's supposed to be colder tomorrow, but I'm wanting this weather to get back to normal, so we ain't got this up and down, freeze, hot, warm, cold, can't decide what it wants to do. So, but yeah, that's definitely, and we may have a little bit of delay on my side too, guys, so kind of keep that in mind. So we got
we'll roll with it.
We got Thomas Patrick Gormley in the house. Thanks for stopping by, Thomas. He will be on my show next week.
Oh, that's right.
So, Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Dills Outdoors?
Yeah. So just about myself, bona fide redneck. I'm a dad of 3 kids. Got an 11-year-old, 2-year-old, and he'll be 5 in June. Hunt, fish, stay outside as much as I can. About Dills Outdoors. I've wanted a hunting show for a few years, and Dad approached me with an opportunity one day saying, "Hey, why don't we try to do a show?" And I said, "Okay." And we moved our stuff to YouTube after a brief period of putting videos together. We decided to move it over to YouTube and start working with that. And the way our show is, we don't doctor anything up. We don't because the video editing is done by me, and I am not a video editor. I can go cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. So, it's really, we're kind of what you see is what you get. You watch our stuff. We might not, if you're watching it for high kills, you might not see that. I think so far we have 3 kill shots on our show out of 10 episodes. It's just because that's the way hunting is. You don't always get something when you go to the woods.
Right.
Matter of fact, we just went turkey hunting yesterday. The heard them everywhere, all around us. Didn't see one. So it's just that's the way hunting works. But that's kind of the way our show is we're just we're as honest about it as we can be. We don't if we kill something, you're gonna see blood. It is what it is. I know on some of the TV shows and stuff, they go through and they wipe the blood off of them before you see them and all that kind of stuff. It's hunting. There's blood. There's whatever. That's just part of it. No, we don't glorify it and sit there and go watch its head explode. Right. but we do. We try to be as respectful to any animal that we kill as we can be. Dad always taught me to be an ethical hunter. Take an animal out with as little suffering as possible, and we always try to abide by that. And that's basically a rundown of our show. So far, we've only got hunting in because we started it. We started this in September, thereabouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've just, I think the first episode we put on there was a very unsuccessful dove hunt by me. And, but it, we've not gotten into any fishing yet, but now with the weather warming up, that's, we got to get through turkey season. Once we get through turkey season, it's probably going to be heavy on fish. And we have actually even talked about, because sometimes we can't go hunting, can't go fishing, sometimes me and Dad will go play golf. So we've actually talked about putting a little bit of golf in there too. Just show them what a couple of good old boy rednecks do on their off time.
Yeah, most definitely. You got to have something to do when you're not finding anything. That's for sure.
Trust me, if we don't, it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
So,
See,
if we don't have anything to do, it gets dangerous real quick.
Yeah, like taking a 4-wheel out and just spinning. Yep, in the mud.
I don't know anything about tearing up my dad's yard once.
Yeah,
What's
like
about.
that. Yeah, I can see it in your face.
So, from what Matt says, Tim, you were kind of the one that got the idea of this a little bit, or was it a collaboration?
Well, it's he don't know if he remembers it or not, but he's talked about it ever since he was growing up. We need us a hunting show. We need us a hunting show when he was a teenager. So it really just that, and wanting to do stuff for the grandkids. And I ain't giving out no excuses, but we do hunt public land. So it's not like we've got a private farm to hunt and all that stuff. We have to hunt where everybody hunts. So, and here in Western North Carolina, it's few and far between.
Matter of fact, the 3 kill shots we've got have all been on somewhere we paid to go.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Wow.
Yeah, it is what it is.
That's crazy. Now, I assume you've got to get permits down there like we do here in Illinois and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we're both lifetime license holders.
Yep.
We've got our lifetime hunting license and fishing license. We don't never have to buy them again. All the grandkids has got them. So
I made sure with my kids before they all turned a year old, they all got their lifetime hunting license, hunting and fishing license. The only thing that they'll ever have to buy, for which I have to do the same thing. The only thing I ever have to buy is a bear tag. Dad was able to get it before they started doing bear tags separately.
Mm-hmm.
So but a bear tag is only a couple of dollars. So it's either back before I got my lifetime, it was $50 for a sportsman's license, and I'd paid $50 for my sportsman's license for 10 years. So and when I got my lifetime license, it was $500. So I was like, well, I've already bought this once. I might as well just save it up and then never have to do it again.
Mm-hmm. So, did you guys have to take any gun courses, like a refresher course, before you actually went out hunting over there, or
they used to require a hunter's education course, but recently what North Carolina has started to do is they allow an apprentice, I think it's called an apprentice license, which is if you're a first-time license holder, you have to stay within so many yards of somebody who has had their North Carolina hunting license for at least 1 year. because what they used to do is they would put on the hunter's education courses at like the fire departments and stuff like that. That's where I took mine. And even when I went into high school, in my freshman year of high school in gym, we actually took about a week to do hunter's education, and everybody that was in that gym class got their hunter's education certification to where they could get their hunting license if they wanted to. I don't know if the school does that anymore, but they stopped doing a lot of the hunter's education courses, and they started doing more of the apprentice licenses. And a couple of my buddies who have never hunted before wanted to go. So I would take them up to Walmart or whatever, and they would say, they would tell them that they wanted the apprentice license, and the people behind the desk would look at them and say, who's the main license holder? And I said, that's me. And they would go through, make sure you're around him so close and everything else, because I guess the idea is you can either have people holding these courses, or there's enough people around here that have a dad, uncle, a brother, a cousin, something that has been a licensed hunter long enough that they can teach them the same thing that course does. And it just a way to save money, I reckon.
So technically that means you guys become the teacher that's had the license for a while, and you don't have to take do you have to take a refresher course every now and then, or just
Nope.
That's just the way it is?
Yep.
And then I assume, since you have little ones, Matt, you teach them gun safety now, or in the process of it?
Yeah. So my oldest one, Dayton, I actually, when he was 2 or 3, I had guns in my closet, in the gun cabinet, but I had guns in my closet. And when he was 2 or 3, I said, son, we don't go into daddy's closet because he's got guns in there. He said, okay, Dad. A year later, I just randomly dropped on him. I said, buddy, why don't we go into daddy's closet? Guns, daddy. So, but since he's we went turkey hunting with him yesterday, and the night before I was telling him on his shotgun, because he just got this shotgun like a year or 2 ago. So he's not that comfortable with it, but he's getting there. I made sure that, when you flip that safety up, the red that's right there means it's ready to fire. You do not put your finger on the trigger until you are absolutely ready to shoot. Whether it's loaded or not, you always treat it like it's loaded. You never pointed at anybody. You never pointed at anything that you have no intention of shooting. I do my best to make sure that he follows, gun safety rules. So far, I know the one thing that I was taught we haven't had to worry about yet, but there's if you're going over logs or anything like that, if you've got somebody else, hand it to them. You go over, they hand it to you, whatever. But so far we haven't had to go through that yet, but it's whenever the time comes, I'll try to make sure that he knows that as well.
Right. And that's like down, I assume that's just down trees, or when you're belly crawling through the brush.
Yeah. Any time that you got a risk of bumping your gun, or you got a chance of dropping it, bumping it, whatever. If you've got somebody with you, hand it off. If you don't, do your best to get it. Like, just try to reach over and get it over. You get over yourself, and then you get it. But you don't, because you don't want to be trying to cross over a log with a gun in your hand, and all of a sudden you slip and fall, and that gun go off.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm assuming you got to wear a hunting safety vest there too, right?
Depends on the season. So like during dove season, turkey season, and bow season, you do not. There is one time during bow season technically it's muzzleloader season. When muzzleloader season kicks in, you have to wear, which our muzzleloader season now, that's 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's the week before Thanksgiving and the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You have to wear maybe not necessarily a vest, but you do have to wear blaze orange. I usually wear a blaze orange hat. And that's usually what I do now. Like if when we went to any of the hunting camps that we've been to, that they require hat and vest. So I'll wear a vest for that, but for the most part, it's usually just a hat.
And the North Carolina law is it to be something that can be seen from all sides.
Yep, 360 degrees.
And also with North Carolina, like Matthew was saying, anytime like muzzleloader season, you have to, if you're bow hunting, you have to wear orange, or if you decide to bow hunt during the rifle season, you have to wear
orange.
If it's like bow season for deer and hogs, but squirrel season opens, bear season, all that stuff, you don't have to. It's only when it's combined with deer hunting with rifles and shotguns or whatever.
Right. Gotcha. And like I said, during dove and turkey season, you don't have to because they can see that. So we actually went on one dove hunt, and there was a kid. I say a kid. He was probably in his late teens, like maybe early 20s. He had a vest with a pull out like blaze orange flag on the back of it, and where he was sitting at is where the doves would fly from. So as those doves are coming through, they see that blaze orange and they go. They just book it. And we do kind of a reset. We did get some shots in, mainly from the ones that was coming up above me. We got some shots in, and then we took a little break, and everybody went out and picked their doves up or whatever, readjusted their decoys or whatever. And I seen him, and he turned, and I saw that blaze orange. I said, "Come here, Bubba," and he got to me. He was such a sweet kid. He's like, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Turn around real quick." And I stuffed that back in his vest, and I zipped it up, and I said, "They can see that orange, man." And he goes, "Oh, I thought I had to have it. I'm sorry I messed it up for everybody." I said, "Buddy, don't you worry about it. You didn't know." But he was a real sweet kid, and he just and a little bit after that, when we got reset, all of a sudden right over him, they started having doves fly over. So I was like,
well, he was thinking safety purpose wise, because that's what he was taught, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't fault the kid. I mean, he going by most hunter safety, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to. But like I said, doves and a lot of birds can see that blaze orange, and so when they're flying over, and I'm guaranteed these doves have probably been shot at before. When they're flying over, and all of a sudden there's something in there, about that big, just blaze orange, they're going to be like, "That ain't right."
Right.
That's why Dad was to wear a camouflage hat, that orange hair. If they see him good, they'll just.
So, since birds can see color, and the fact of you said the orange kind of runs them away, is there any colors that actually attract them?
Not really. You just try to stay camouflaged the best you can.
Yeah.
Any kind of bright colors, whether it's just like anything that would attract blue jeans, that kind of stuff, something that don't look normal, because especially when migratory birds, they get hunted from when they leave up in your area, they get hunted till they get all the way to South America. So by the time they get down to where we're at, they're like, "I've seen that before. I know not to go over that."
I mean, that's like a turkey, and I know everybody thinks that turkeys are these dumb animals. There's that old myth about turkeys are so stupid that they'll drown themselves in a thunderstorm because they're looking up.
No.
I had one turkey 2 years ago. I had one turkey. He stayed on the edge of a field for 45 minutes, and he would gobble his head off, but he would not step into that field for nothing. And then Dad, I couldn't get him, so I told Dad, I said, "Dad, why don't you go down there and see if you can bust him, because I'd rather one of us get him." And Dad walks out to the same spot, and he doesn't gobble the first time because there's an eagle perched up in the corner of the field that Dad didn't even notice until it got daylight. And that turkey wouldn't gobble because that eagle was right there.
And I got whistled at by a Bigfoot 4 times walking through the field too. So
that probably didn't help either.
No.
Yeah.
because they will catch them.
Yeah. We'll get into Bigfoot here before the end of the show here a little bit, but that's interesting that that eagle was sitting there at the end and he was keeping an eye on that eagle, but he also knew you were probably on the other side, just ready to contradict everything. It's like, I'm going to get it either way if I walk out of here.
He's probably heard that calling going, and he's like, let's see, I've heard that before. I've seen them catch my brother before. Well,
which is 50-50 chance of me getting out of here, but we'll see.
Talk about rocking a hard place.
We have the CEO of All Access Network Television here. Miss Lee Brown is in the house. Thanks for stopping in, Lee. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. So I know all the rules and regulations are a little different for each state or county, if I assume right. So if I were to have a hunting license and come there, would I have to get one there, or does it go across the board?
Yeah, you still have to get a North Carolina hunting license. That's actually if that wasn't the case, then I've got a feeling me and Dad probably would have at least tried to have went to Colorado or Montana by now.
I've never actually really been hunting before. I mean, I've done stuff in scouts when we were younger that, they taught us how to do certain things. And I know enough to probably get me by if I have to have it. And I have shot bows and I have shot guns. So, I mean, I'm not naive to that point of that aspect of it either. So I do know how to survive, but I would never know how to skin it right or, do that stuff, but
just
I would
just as long as you don't do it with my buddy Jeff, you'll be all right.
I could probably do enough.
What did Jeff do?
We killed a deer at his property, and I told him to go ahead and I told him to go off and get the cooler real quick. And Jeff had never killed a deer before in his life, and I'm over there. I get the first cut in, and I get that right there split open for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get that open for him because I'm not worried about that way I didn't cut the gut. Jeff, I didn't know if he'd do it or not. We get it open. All of a sudden there it is in all its glory. And I tell Jeff, I hand him the knife and I go, there you go. He goes, what? And I said, you shot it. Get to work. I said, reach in. I said, feel you feel the trachea, and it'll feel almost like a piece of vacuum hose.
Mm-hmm.
He said, cut that. Go to the other end. You know which end I'm talking about. Cut that. And then right up in, there's a membrane right under the spine. Just take your hand and go like that across that membrane, and then we can actually pick it up and dump everything out. He goes in. Second his hand goes in, he goes,
Oh no.
I look at him, I said, don't you puke in this deer. And he reaches in and he gets a hold of the heart, and the thing, it died so fast because we killed it with a 300 Win Mag. So it just,
right.
The heart's still beating. He turns as white as a sheet and he goes, its heart's still beating. And what was even better is because his nerves was dying down, the muscles were still retracting a little bit. So that freaked him out. He gets a hold of the heart and it's still beating. And I said, what? And I go in there and I reach. I actually eat deer heart. I love it. And I go in there and I feel it and I just go pop it out. And I go, that's mine. And I put it in the cargo. I put it in my cargo pocket. He just goes, yeah.
That's too good.
Now to this day, he will only take his deer to a processing place where they will take it guts and all, and he doesn't have to gut it first.
Oh wow!
He
I
will.
thought,
He
I
will
thought
go.
you always had to have them gutted before you take him to a processing place.
No, this one place will take him in gutted, so that's why that's the only place he'll take it to, so he doesn't have to gut them.
The one thing is it actually makes them better if you do go ahead and gut them.
It does.
When you shoot a buck, and since we're all on the subject of cutting stuff, first thing you do is go back and cut its gonads off, and then gut it, and that keeps it from getting the wild gamey taste as bad.
Because it'll even after they're dead, it'll keep pumping adrenaline and testosterone through the system.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you want to get that. That's the reason a lot of people don't like wild meat, is because of the taste and stuff. But if it's handled properly from the time it's shot until it's processed, it ain't nothing no better.
No, especially wild hog. Wild hog to me is some of the best eating that's ever been.
Well, I've definitely had deer meat and deer jerky and stuff like that, and I like deer meat, and even in chili, I like it. So, I've had rabbit and a little bit of rattlesnake and some odds and ends as well, and I like it. I mean, it's some good food if it's cooked correctly, like you said, and some you really can't really tell the difference of it. I mean, I went to one place for a party one time, and somebody made my plate and brought it to me and gave it to me, and I sat there and I started eating, not thinking anything about it. And I said, well, this chicken's a little greasy, but it's all right. It's barbecue chicken. And then they come back and they ask me and says, hey, did you like that? And I was like, well, yeah, it was all right. Do you know what it was? And I was like, well, it's chicken, ain't it? It wasn't chicken. It was barbecue raccoon. And it wasn't too bad. It was actually pretty damn good.
Hey, everybody, me and Dad make this joke. They talk about, in Chinese restaurants that they serve cat. And I say, well, if that's the case, that's the best cat I've ever eaten. As long as it tastes good, I don't care.
My daddy always told me, he said the only difference between something tasting good and bad was being hungry for 30 more minutes. Because in 30 minutes, if it didn't look good, it's going to be looking good in 30 minutes.
I remember that time I killed a 3-point, just a little 3-point, and I killed it on my birthday. My birthday is September 15th. And so it was early enough in the year that they hadn't started to rut. He was still in velvet. And when I went to take care of him, I cut him and castrated him. And I'd heard that you could eat it. So I was like, all right. And I actually fried up. I actually made some deer testicles out of a 3-point and tasted like ham. Right? It tasted like ham. And the thing is there. Right away, he was going, my son, I've been hungry. I've been poor. I ain't ever been that bad off on either one to want to eat deer testicles before.
I definitely have to agree with your dad on that one.
Honestly, though, it really wasn't bad. I just took it, I seasoned it up and rolled and put it in some butter and just kind of pan fried it. And it really did just taste like ham. So, but now if that thing would have been killed in December, it'd have been terrible. But
I figured the coons and the coyotes and stuff like that's got to have something to eat too. I tried to provide for everybody. I'll leave that for them.
And the Bigfoots, loving the Bigfoot eating the gut piles. So.
Definitely. So you guys hunt deer, dove, and wild hog?
Yep. Turkeys.
We hunt everything. If it's got open season on it, we pretty much hunt it.
If it's legal, we'll go for it.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Anything we do is always. Yeah, that's right. Them's mountain oysters.
Yeah.
But
so
anything.
What is legal there in North Carolina then?
Let's see. So right now it's turkey season, and for turkey, it's a bearded turkey, not necessarily a gobbler, but it has to have a beard on it because there have been bearded hens before. So if it's got a beard, it's legal. Once deer season kicks in for us on deer, we get $4 or no, good. I wish we got $4. 4 antlerless deer and 2 antlered deer. So the way that goes is sometimes you kill, like I killed a button buck last year that his antlers hadn't even started to break through. Ma'am, don't tempt us. We'll be.
She's real because they're causing havoc. Yeah.
We'll roll up in there like super troopers. but for the antler part, like I killed a button buck last year, and the antler hadn't started to break through the skin, so that is still technically considered antlerless. And then there's been Dad, a couple of years ago, they I think in Illinois there was a 9-point doe killed or something like that, like a big old rack on that, but it's a doe. So she would have been considered antlered deer.
The thing with them is they don't have the testosterone for their hard horns to ever come out of velvet. So you may kill it in December and January, but it'll still have velvet on its horns.
She says seriously, these hogs are tearing up our property, and the deer have scars all over them from their tusk.
They do.
Well,
They've even caught them on the cams. There. Yeah.
Well, Dills Team 6 over here. We'll go through.
I told her we need to go down and just play one day and just shoot them off. Just
you get. Dad, I think that right there just gave me a reason to get an AR style 308. What you think?
You need a reason? Really? You need a reason?
Yes, I'm married. I need a reason.
That's all it is.
I've been married 37 years. I don't need a reason.
I've only this year will be 6 years. I'm still in the ask permission first. But then
I've been married so long I know how to men.
Yeah. But as far as the legal things, Sean, there's also like during goose season, because we have goose hunted before. It was the most redneck looking thing you've ever seen in your life because we're floating down the river in float tubes with shotguns. Looked like a deleted scene from Deliverance. But it was fun. We killed 2 geese. I think where we're at, the daily limit is 10 on geese. I think it's 10 on dove and 10 on squirrels when squirrel season hits.
Squirrels 8.
Oh, is it 8 on squirrels? Well, luckily I've never been able to come across enough to even see 8 in a day.
Normal scope.
He does.
Yep.
He uses it for Bigfooting, but we have no issue putting that to use on some hogs.
Well, if you definitely go over there and I'm down in the area at the time, we'll do something about it for sure.
Man, if we went over, there's a new episode of Dills Outdoors.
There you go. And Bigfoot hunting. There you go. Because we'd have to do it all when we were together. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've been wanting to do that for a while, right, Lee?
I know Matt's been saying, that I was welcome to come down there with them guys, and we wanted Victor Santiago to come down with us. And I've talked to him a few times and told him we ought to still go down there for that.
Yeah. I hope he's scared.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Because
Vic's too scared that we're going to leave him up in the woods of Bigfoot.
I got to admit, that's got to be funny. I did actually get a chance to see him go on a ghost hunt with Susan Victoria for the first time.
Yeah.
And they walked by something and something fell in a cabinet, and boy, that got his attention. That was live. So
I bet Vic jumped every bit of 4 foot high.
You have to go back and watch it. I think you still are able to watch it, but it was live when they did it.
So.
And it got his attention pretty good. That's for sure. We have turkeys with beards to the ground and chunky babies.
Chunky baby.
So,
Ma'am, with all due respect, you're killing us here.
Yeah.
um,
They're like, oh no, it's a hunt. It's a
hey,
hunt.
they're not far from Gwen. You know where Gwen lives. So they're not far from Gwen. So
It's
you know,
okay.
was it like 2.5 hours, I think, Lee?
yeah.
From where we are? Yeah.
And South Carolina's licenses are not that expensive.
There
No.
you go.
You'd have to have those small games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you'd still have to have a state, whether they're considered game animals or not. You'd still have to have a state hunting license.
You
Right.
know what though, and don't mean to break off on this, Dad. Just to us have a quick conversation. I don't know why we haven't just went ahead and started doing South Carolina sportsman's licenses. We go down there enough to fish.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah, people
So,
fish here at the lake right where I live. Bass and I don't all kinds of stuff, but I know they have bass tournaments and stuff around here.
What lake do you live close to?
Lake Greenwood.
Glenwood. I've heard of it. I ain't never
Greenwood.
fished it. I fished Hartwell a lot.
Yep, Lake Greenwood.
Well,
Right in my
Dad, I guess
backyard, basically.
Dad, I think we might have to do the good old boy thing and do a little visiting.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Little visiting.
little bit. Well, I'll be down there in about 3 weeks. I'm coming down to South Carolina, and I'm actually going to a powwow.
Cool.
Going to our powwow.
We're going on a couple investigations, I think, when we're down there as well. I think that's what they've got lined up. And
Yep.
yeah, so
If you get if you can throw in some extra time, run by and we'll take you Bigfooting.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
our spots are opened up now. All the
Ooh,
Far
that
side.
sounds like a good idea. Excuse
well,
me.
there you go. That might be one of the days we'd have to plan when I'm down there. Maybe
Mhm.
We'll get
Jump
y'all
up
up
there.
these mountains real good.
That'd be
jump
cool.
up there and check out some Bigfoot stuff. And then I can tell Victor I've been out in the Bigfoot field and where you been.
yeah.
I cannot see Victor out Bigfooting or hunting or fishing. I just can't see it.
Well, when we talked to Vic about it the one time, he, I was about 15 pounds heavier then. He said he would pretty much just put me in front of him and let me find it.
He said he'd be running the other way when we all be chasing and he'd be taking off going the opposite direction.
Of course, he
you
did say
guys are
that. And
slower
the
than
thing is,
him.
Vic said that when I was recovering from my knee surgery. I just now realized I might need to take it a little more personal. He was going to bait me.
You might have to train
all
up
right,
a little
well,
bit.
Oh, damn.
We'll stick some jack links in his back pocket.
There you go.
No, you won't. I don't
And
let
then
Jack
you got to
make it that far.
Then you got to make sure you got a live camera on him the whole time because we want to hear
Oh,
everything
absolutely.
he said. We want to hear everything he says when he's running away.
With one of those heart rate monitor readouts.
Oh yeah.
Actually, we'll probably have to get one of my buddy's dog tracking collars and put on him because if he takes off running, we may never find him. We'll have to track him down.
Oh, Dad, what you could do is if Vic got down here, y'all to get that woodpecker call and do him like you did Tony.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I got a call that I can mimic a woodpecker, and it works good during turkey season.
And it is
And
Uh-huh.
my buddy might have been coming off of about a month of drinking something a little stronger than Coca-Cola, and his nerves was about shot, and his was standing in front of me, and I didn't think, and I hit that thing, and he come up about that high off the ground, and
Ooh.
it absolutely scared him to death, and I just rolled to life, and I didn't do it on purpose, but just being there and in that situation to hear a grown man going like that. I just rolled. We couldn't have killed the turkey 2 states over. He screamed so loud.
I still wish I could have been there when he tried to shoot that pheasant with a bow. He took his wife out on a date, and there's a what we call pheasant, just a rough grouse, but it's standing on a log. He goes out and he has all the time in the world to set his bow up. I mean, he's ranging it and everything else. That thing just sits there.
And it wasn't 10 yards.
It wasn't 10 yards. He pulls back and shoots, and it goes right between that thing's feet, and it just goes. He said he looked back. And the truck was just shaking from his wife laughing so hard. That thing was essentially standing there going,
What you doing?
"You missed."
Here I am trying to commit suicide, and you ain't going to help me a bit.
I could spit 8 yards.
Yeah, just a dead shot and went under the legs. Now I'm coming after you. I can just see that thing probably chasing him, and he'd be running the truck.
I think what would have been funnier on that pheasant is if it would have just walked out on the arrow and just been like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd been cool.
I'll show you.
I know birds can't spit, but just look at it and go, look back at him. Bring it on, big boy.
Well, they
Thanks,
could spit rock. They could spit rocks out. Don't most birds chew on rocks when they eat?
Yeah, they've got them in their crawl.
Yeah, they could probably spit a rock out though, or drop a rock.
That probably would have been Tony's luck too. That thing would have flew off and the pebble just go.
I was going to say that bird would have come closer to hitting Tony than Tony hitting the bird, evidently.
Die, Bob, in a new meeting, right?
Let me show you how that's done.
At least I'll hit you. But yeah. So we know you guys do some hunting with that. So you guys also do fishing too. What do you guys fish for?
Anything that bites.
Anything
And I'm not being a jerk or being smart alecky, but we do. We just go and fish, and if we're targeting something like when we go to say we go down to Lake Hartwell, we're usually targeting stripers, hybrids. We might take time out to either catch or bow fish for some guard, that kind of stuff. But when I go, I just go because I like to fish. And 9 times out of 10, I don't go with anything in particular in mind. I love fishing for big catfish. And that is one of my favorite things to do. And but I fish for trout, brim. I've got float tubes in it. My buddy Tony that was just talking about it did aggravate the far out of him because we'd float the river here at the house, and he'd be 200 yards ahead of me of fishing, and I'm still trying to catch that one little brim about that big. It keeps pecking. But that's just me. I like to fish. It don't matter, like I say, whether it's trout or brim or bass or catfish, or I even like catching carp. Just fish.
And
y'all love it around here.
And I like to bow fish. I probably like to bow fish more than I do regular fishing, but I like regular fishing too. But bow fishing, you got to be a lot more selective. I can't go out there and just be like, "Hey, largemouth,"
Right.
So around here, the only thing I can shoot is carp, and then carp, as far as bow fishing for them, they're a blast. And I got what was dead about 2 years ago. I shot my first gar when we went down to Hartwell.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and when you shooting something that ain't big around as that.
Right. So what's the strangest thing? I know everybody's got a story when they go fishing. What's the strangest thing you've ever caught?
Go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead. I got to think on it.
A cow.
A cow.
A dead cow. We was fishing in one of the lakes up here. That name of the lake is Fontana, and we was trolling for walleye, and I had my lure, trolling out the back of the boat, and we was easing up to there, and all of a sudden something stopped it, and I set the hook on it, and it started moving. So I thought I had a fish. Told him, I said, I don't know, it ain't going to be no walleye because it's too heavy. And evidently, up here where we live, there's cow pastures all in the lakes, and not lakes, but the rivers and all that stuff. So evidently one of them had got swept away or something, and it had got pinned on the ground or something. But when I hooked it and started pulling it, it come loose, and it come to the top, and here's this big old bloated full-grown cow. I mean, it's
what the hell?
Yeah, my cousin cut your line. I just bring you plug. I ain't cutting my line. His pulling a Jeff. He wasn't liking that smell too good, but that's the weirdest thing I've ever caught is a cow.
Man, hell, you had to have some hell of a test line for that. What were you using for test line to pull that
Good
thing
drag.
out?
Just 20-pound test.
Good drag.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
I'd say I've not really caught anything weird, but I have been. I was with Dad one time. We were doing my senior project. My senior project was on bow fishing, and now other people are doing it. And I was the first one to ever do it in my high school. But we went down off a little tributary off of Fontana, and it was still real early. So Dad was actually going out and throwing dough balls to try to catch carp so they could come up to the top so I could get shots at them because they were still off so deep. Mm-hmm. And we had one come in, like that thing started to take, and Dad starts trying to reel it in, and I'm getting ready. And Dad goes, hold on. That might be a catfish. He starts reeling it in as a snapping turtle. So as far as the weirdest thing that I've seen, it'd probably be Dad catching a snapping turtle.
Yeah, that's kind of
either that or when you snag that alligator down in Sand Coop. Yeah. Threw what was a rooster tail?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, threw a rooster tail over the back of an alligator and was trying to reel it in. All of a sudden it catches the alligator. You just hear the reel on Dad's pole go. That
little 12-pound test didn't hold that 14-foot alligator very long.
You just snapped her and took her with it, huh?
Yeah, honestly, this ain't no joke. I would pull out line because I was going to have to retie, and I'd pull out line down in my reel, and about 5 foot would come out, and it'd be broke again. How it broke line that far down in my reel, I have no idea, but it did.
So somewhere in Santee, there's probably still an alligator down there with a white rooster tail stuck in him somewhere.
Wow! I wonder how many brim and stuff come up and bit at that thing.
What'd be funny though is if now he's actually got a bunch of little brim skeletons on his side.
Oh my goodness!
That gator's new nickname's Boneyard.
Do you guys ever do like instructional videos as part of your little thing? Your show?
We did one right before turkey season, just kind of showing what calls we use, what situations we use those calls in, what each call could be, because there's certain turkey calls that you don't want to make, like was it putt, because that's a putt is one that a hen will use to say
any of them.
It's an alert call. And so that can actually, if you're just sitting there and just start going like that, that's to them, that's a, something's wrong. Don't come around, get away, whatever. So that's one you want to try to avoid, but you still want to know that call. That way, like when we went turkey hunting yesterday, we had a boss hen just around us trying to putt and trying to spook the gobblers away from us to either come with her or just get away from us. So that's, it's not a call you want to use, but it's one you want to know.
And I'm not good at instruction videos, and the reason is I've done it for so long. To me, a lot of things are just second nature. I don't even realize I'm doing it, but
All right.
so I forget to tell, and poor old Matthews had to go through it a lot, but we'll be a hunting and stuff like that, and I don't think to say this, that, or the other, and then because it's just all second nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, when I was I did college for a little while. You see where it got me. But when I was in college, I actually wanted to go to school to be a teacher at one point. So doing like the teaching people stuff and instructional things like that is kind of in my wheelhouse. So a lot of the instructional stuff, if it's stuff that Dad's taught me or that I have at least a basic knowledge of, I can bring it up. Like if we're doing a video on, I don't know, perfect example, like me and Dad have two different ways that we deer hunt. I call more, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Dad doesn't call that much. But the one time that it's really paid off, I killed my biggest buck. Because I tried, I had a 6-point going down in a holler, and he was after a doe, or he was either like, because he had that head down, and I bleated at him. I did the man like that, and he wouldn't stop. I had a call that's got a snort wheeze on the top of it, and it was the last ditch effort. He's about to go over a hill. I just go, and he just goes and stops and turns and starts walking right towards me, because to deer, that is a fight. It's, I see you, I want to fight you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was a last ditch effort, and it was the only thing I could think to do. And he stopped on a dime and started walking to me wanting to fight. And when I shot him and actually got to look at him, he had scars all around it. Like he had big knots all around his eyes and scars from where he'd been fighting other deer. So it just happened to work that way. And I don't know if that's the approach Dad would have took, because me and him hunt two different ways. But that's the reason I like the way we do on our show as far as the instructional stuff goes, is Dad knows his way of doing things. I know my way of doing things. And sometimes you can take both of them and make them work.
Yes.
And if he can tell the way he does things and I can tell the way I do things, sitting quiet might be all you need to do. But then you might have that one buck that won't stop. So you got to do a snort wheeze as a last ditch effort. Then it works. So.
Right.
There you go.
Have you ever seen one of those bucks go head to head with another one and just watch them sit there and fight?
I've heard it. I've not seen them. It's one of them. When I was a teenager, me and my dad was muzzleloader hunting, and I made it back to the Jeep, and was sitting there, and up on the ridge behind me, I hear two of them tearing the woods down. I mean, they're just making the awfulest racket. And with being a teenager, well, I probably would have done it being an old man too, but I was just listening to it. I tuned into it like, oh man, I can't believe I'm getting to hear these bucks fight. I've read about it, seen pictures, but they're going at it, and they're turning. Daddy ain't gonna believe this. They're turning the world down and all this stuff. And then when it was over, I thought, well, you idiot, why didn't you snake up there and try to shoot them? They're fighting each other. They're not looking out for you danger. And it's one of them moments.
Wow.
The only fight I've ever got to watch, I don't know if this counts or not. It was at one of the hunting places that me and Dad went to. I went there a year before me and Dad went together. It's a place called Wilderness Hunting Lodge in Tennessee, and they have exotic deer. The first year I ever went, I killed a Texas doll ram, And but the first that morning that I went out to hunt, they have fallow deer out there, and I actually got to watch two fallow deer lock up and start fighting each other. So that for me was pretty cool. And the reason I say I don't know if it counts is because it is a high fence area.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to count that. I've never seen whitetails. I've never seen whitetails or hogs or anything go at it, but I have at least seen that.
Well, it's interesting that you got a chance to see something live, as even if it was in an enclosed type environment, but still, that's kind of interesting to watch. Them clashing horns and busting them up and clashing and everything. That's, man, I think they'd get a headache or break their damn necks doing that crap, you know?
The breaking necks does happen. I know there was a video doing the rounds about a year ago of an elk, I think out around Yellowstone, walking around with another elk's head in his rack.
Oh,
because
wow.
it had actually broke the other one's neck. And sometimes what'll happen with them is sometimes both of them will die because they can't get the other one off. But sometimes they'll actually sit there and they'll stomp on the other one's neck until it actually cuts the other one's head off.
Oh,
and they'll
wow.
walk around with the head of another deer or elk, whatever. They'll walk around with the head of another one until their antlers fall off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you want to talk about one of the most metal looking things you've ever seen? Look at an elk with a dead elk's head in his rack.
That would be, yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out and Google it and see if I can find a couple pictures of that. That'd be kind of bizarre. Well, I tell you what, guys, we're at the top of the hour right now. I'm going to extend this show a little bit. You guys got the time?
Mm-hmm.
So I know for a fact that you guys have. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Damn. And that's a pretty good size elk.
That's a boss.
Wow. Well, I know for a fact you guys, like I said, I know you guys have done hunting, and that's what I brought you on here for, is talk about hunting and fishing, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I also know you guys like to do a little bit of other stuff with checking out Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a couple things about Bigfoot and what you've seen recently? Because I know you've seen dogmen and some Bigfoot from a distance. I know you guys got pictures of those, but have you encountered anything else lately since I've talked to you guys?
He's more the Bigfoot guy than I am. Now, I have seen one. I've seen one, and so I'm a full believer in it. But mine was probably about 9 years ago. I had one. I was squirrel hunting with a girlfriend at the time, and I saw one on a ridge take off running. He was about 7.5 foot tall, hair about this color, kind of a reddish brown. And I found a track of him, and then that's been pretty much it as far as what's happened to me. Dad's the one that's the cryptid magnet.
I've since I had my first encounter in 2008, I've seen 4 of them. I keep up with 5 family groups of them here in the county that I live in. And I know there's more groups of them than that, but we've been getting, the last couple of times that we've been out, we've been getting juvenile tracks. We got one over at my mom and my dad's. Mama called me one night, back in December, I think it was. And there's a Bigfoot outside yelling, and it just blowed her mind. And we went over there. I put in a driveway sensor, so if something comes up their driveway, it'll set it off so they know somebody's coming. One night about 9:45, somewhere around through there, I don't remember exact time, but it was dark. The sensor went off, and she thought, well, maybe it's a deer walk through it, so I'll go out and see if I can see it under the street light. Well, she walks out and goes off the porch onto the ramp. My dad is had one of his legs amputated, so he's got a wheelchair ramp and that kind of stuff. But she was standing on it, and up on the ridge one started hollering. So we went over there, me and the guys, Sean, with Robert and George and all them guys. We went over there, and right beside the sensor for the driveway is on like a beach style planter that's got flyers in it and all of that stuff. And we got a juvenile track. It was about maybe 5-6 inches long, maybe a little longer. But we got to cast that. And but about the only thing we can figure is them. I don't know if people know it or not, but they have a sense of humor. They honestly do. And the only thing we could figure was that the little one kept sticking its hand because it was standing right beside the sensor. The sensor's on the front, it's standing on the side to where it could stick it out and make the sensor go off. And they can see into the light spectrum enough, and that's one reason that you don't get a lot of stuff on trail cams, is because if they can, the trigger on the trail cam, it'll put a grid out, and if something breaks that grid, that line, then it knows to take a picture. And same thing with that driveway sensor, it had a grid out, and so I'm sure they know that was there. And I honestly believe, I've got no way of proving it, but just knowing them as much as I do, I honestly believe the little one was down there messing with that. And then when the big one seen my mom come out on outside, then it started yelling for the little one to come on, because I found a place when we went up there and investigated and put out audio recorders and trail cameras and all of that stuff. We put them out, they'll move them, take them down, all this stuff. But anyway, we put them up anyway. But I actually found a spot in front of the tree where all the leaves had been kicked out, and it wasn't up but bare ground. You could see an old footprint, nothing to get a cast off of. But from where that was at, it can look right down on my mom and dad's house. It can see the yard where the deer and the turkey come in, and it's actually in a great spot to where if it sees the turkeys or deer, whatever's down there, and it sees it go up this way, then it can cut them off. If it sees them coming in to the woods, because they got what we call the hayfield, anywhere where those animals go, when they leave that field, they can see it. They can tell exactly where they're going, and they know where to head them off, because that's a main source of food. Deer, turkeys, hogs, raccoons, all of that stuff. One thing that I've learned is that they don't smell all the time. It's a defense mechanism. And the reason I say that is we've had them follow us for 1.5 miles into the woods and back out. And it's up above us. We hear it flanking us. When we first smelled it, we stopped and was talking about smelling it. The wind never changed. The wind stayed coming down the mountain to us, and we never smelled it no more the rest of that day, but it was staying right up with us. And number two, if they smelled as bad all the time as what they smelled, then they'd never be able to catch hogs and deer and all that stuff, because they'd know there's around.
Right.
That's true.
Okay.
But they do.
So technically, they got a mechanism, possibly like a skunk, when they put that smell out, then, it'll drive things away or want you to have that pungent smell, so you ain't going to be messing with it to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I've got videos of them actually taking and turning my trail cameras around on the tree. I've got one certain place that they like to do it. And the crazy thing is the trail camera that's on the side that they turn around, it'll get turned around every time off the game trail. But the one on the other side of the tree, it don't never get bothered. And every time that I've been in there, the one that's on the game trail, it'll be twisted around and moved to where it's not showing that game trail anymore. And one of the videos I have, you can actually see the arm come up and getting under it and start pulling it around the tree.
Wow, that's interesting. That's
Sure
definitely
is.
interesting. I know one thing, Matt, when you took your hat off a second, I had to look twice, man, because you know what? You remind me so much of that wrestler that I've told you time and time again. You look like Braun Strowman, man. You're a dead ringer for Braun Strowman, dude.
I wish I was built like him.
I'm sitting here looking. I was like, "Damn, Matt!" I said, "You could be his twin for being Braun Strowman, dude."
I wish I was that boy is. Of course, his dad was a professional football player, so.
He's looking around, nothing. But yeah, like I said, I had to look. I kept glancing over. I was like, "Man, you look just like Braun Strowman."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to get that. What is it? That one he's got right here? It says "Country Boy" on it with
yeah. He says "Country Boy." He's got a tattoo across his bicep.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I know one or two times I've been out to a WWE main event or a wrestling event, and I've had my head shaved bald, and I had my goatee out a little farther, and I was wearing my Stone Cold driving that Ranger. I had a blue Ranger just like his, and we pulled up behind some kids that the Dudley boys were sitting there messing with on the corner when they were getting ready to leave. And then all of a sudden they look back and they look at my truck and see that, and then they see me in there, and then I have my shirt and stuff on, and they thought I was Stone Cold. So hell, I rolled down the window, gave them the bird, and said, "Hell yeah," I kept on rolling. And they were sitting there taking pictures. I was like, "Okay, whatever."
I started looking, going, "What?"
Well, that's before he started the what, but still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you go around and say, "Oh, hell yeah." So I yelled it out the window, gave them all the bird, and they were sitting there flashing pictures. But that's definitely funny. But,
I think Braun's like 6'9", so they ain't nobody gonna be getting me and him mixed up with each other.
I don't know. I still think if certain people would walk up, you definitely would be a dead ringer, pretty close to it.
If I was able to get my traps up to about right here, maybe. I'd have to do a lot of them shoulder workouts to get them up there, though.
But yeah, that's definitely for sure. But yeah. So I remember at one time, me and you, Tim, we talked a little bit about something that you actually possibly got a hold of. Are you able to talk about that and what come of it?
Oh, about the hire sample?
Yeah. Are you able to talk about that?
I got up with them. I had the North Carolina State University was doing a cryptid study on Bigfoot and all of this stuff, and I sent hire samples in, and I've had them done other places, and I know that that's what they are. So I sent them into them, and it turned out a little more disappointing than just the way the meeting went.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him. He said, "Yeah, we've got your samples. They everything's going good," and was really talking about how everything was and all that stuff. And we're doing a Zoom meeting, and he's looking at his computers and typing. Yeah, everything. Man, we're excited and all of this stuff. And he tells me that they've got them, and that they've started working on them. And I figured he's getting ready to tell me what I already know.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he switched just like that. And luckily, my wife was listening in. We had another guy that's in the group Dirty South Squatching that I'm in.
Yeah.
Chris Collins, he was on the Zoom call with me. And he's already talked about what they're finding and how everything's going good and all of this stuff. And then in 10 minutes, it went from that, "Well, we don't have your samples." "Well, you done told me a while ago that you had the 3 samples. You asked me who was with me when I got them.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody else got hair samples from that area and asking these questions. And so it's one of them. And when you get into the Bigfoot thing, you find out quick that they're going to cover everything up as quick as possible. And to me, that's exactly what happened, because here he is telling me that they've got everything and they're liking what they're seeing and all of this stuff. And then he tells me about the 3 samples and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, well, we don't have those. Well, you told me 10 minutes ago that you did, and that you had been working on them, and that you had news to tell me. That's what the Zoom call was for, was to tell me what they'd found so far and how things was going and all of that. And when I get through with it, I'm like, no, wait a minute. Maybe I misheard it. So I got my wife, and then I called Chris, and him and his wife and me and my wife all heard it, that they had got them and that they had been doing the studies on them and everything was looking good. And he was excited about it. And then all of a sudden, we don't have them 10 minutes later. And I don't know if when he was working on his computer, he looked down and seen something that, I have no idea. But just knowing what I know about being in this field, I've been in it for 17 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when you start backtracking and you start backpedaling and covering stuff up, I've heard it a lot. So, and that's exactly what he done. We've had them.
So one of the things that I'm going to ask is, it seems like more than one person I've heard this from. It seems like whenever they send out samples of any type or anything that's related to Bigfoot, or they think it's related to Bigfoot, they come up, like you say, they come up lost, they come up, misdone, or lost a sample, or whatever the case may be. Do you think they're actually going out to some of these locations to where you said that these were, and looking for themselves and keeping the evidence?
I think they're, in my honest opinion, and nobody's going to listen to an old redneck, but I honestly believe they're getting names of people that had samples so that they can start watching what they're putting on out in public. And the reason I say that, and I've got no way of proving it, but I'll tell you this, and people can draw from it whatever they want to. I was at speaking at a place down in Alabama, and this guy I know, I won't mention his name. His name's Tim Coonbo Baker. Big time into Bigfooting and that kind of stuff, and been doing it for years. He asked me, he said, have they been to see you yet? And I said, who? He said, the government. And I said, no. He said, well, as much stuff as you're putting out, they will. And it wasn't but a couple of months after that, I started to go live. Me and Matthew was going to do a TikTok live, because that's where I post most of my Bigfoot stuff at.
Right.
And the night before, my computer was working fine. I go to plug it up. Matthew was over here at the house with me. He was going to read the messages that was coming in so that we could answer them, because that's what we wanted to do. If people had questions about them and that kind of stuff. And my computer would not pull up. It just sat there and spin. I took it to, and for about 2-3 weeks, I'd been promoting that, and we're going to go live on this night and answer your questions. Well, my computer crashes. I take it to the place here in town, and they told me, said, your hard drive is fried. Everything on it's gone. No pictures, no nothing. And that was just been Matthew, 2 years ago?
2-3 years,
So there's all those years of evidence that I had stored on my computer. And I thought, well, that ain't no problem. I've got them backed up on a flash file that I keep on my keep my computer right beside my recliner in on that desk, on my table in the drawer, I kept a flash drive of everything. So I get my flash drive out, get my computer home, put my flash drive in it. Every folder in it, it's got all the names. It's got everything that I had named, whereas Bigfoot, the year, the place, all of this stuff. And I open it up, and every one of them's empty. There's not a video, there's not a picture. Everything that was in that flash drive's gone, except for the folders that they was in.
Wow.
So that's the reason I know that a lot of stuff, and like I say, I have no way of proving it, but you know, after a while, you got to start putting the dots together to get a picture. And for my computer to crash the night that we're going to go live, and it was working the night before,
right?
You know, that's awful suspicious, especially when I don't use my computer for nothing. Now I use it for doing a podcast, but that's all it's used for, is to put my videos on. Everything else I do off my phone. So it's not like it picked up a virus or nothing like that, because it ain't online for nothing except to go to StreamYard and TikTok and that kind of stuff.
Well, I definitely know when me and Gwen's done some shows before, and we've had guests on, or we're on other podcasts, and we start talking about certain things, we get that round circle loading and getting kicked off, and we call them computer gremlins and stuff. But we definitely know what you're talking about for that, for sure. And the fact is, you know, even your internet lagging so slow that they can't even do anything, or etc. Or it's retarded. That's one thing, you know, I've told a lot of people here recently, you know, if they're hiding something, I'm the type of person I want to know. I want to know what's out there. I don't want to be hidden anymore. If it's here, I want to know about it. So then, hey, we can check this out. What's going on? You know, find out what's going on with everything. But, you know, some people, it may put into a big panic and, you know, start a bunch of other chaos. But damn, you know, it just makes you really wonder when people go to the point of that to cover up stuff, or possibly covering up stuff, I should say.
If they go to that length to quieten normal citizens down to where that other people can't learn from it, what are they hiding that's a lot worse than what we're doing that we have no idea? Right. You know, that's my thing. If you're going to censor me and hide me over something as ridiculous as is Bigfoot real or not, and I honestly think that's where a lot of the, like on Facebook, I'm in 10 Blue Million groups in Facebook with Bigfoot and all this stuff, but there's so many people comes in there that's not got any background on them. They don't, and all they come in is trying to start a row, and you know what I mean, trying to discredit anything you do. And I think just like they did, and I'll shut up after this, maybe I may get on a rant, but anyway, back when COVID was going through, you know, they tried to shut everybody up that didn't go along with their narrative.
Right.
And I think they're doing the same thing with this. The hair samples that we got, there's no other animal that the hair, the color in it, you know, humans and all other animals have a solid medulla or whatever. I ain't no scientist, whatever that is called, and down the center of it. Well, Bigfoot's ain't. It's broken up. It'll have like red, and then it'll be translucent, and then it may be a black or a gray, but it's like that throughout the whole hair. So, you know, we know what we've got, and we've had it up, and actually had some done in Canada, and they said, yeah, if there was such a creature as Bigfoot, this is what we expect that it would be like. Well, that's saying yes without saying yes. You know what I mean?
It's It's almost like what you described. They got chameleon style hair where they can adjust to the environment and blend in with it. And that's why everything's so hard, but they're smart enough to understand what's going on. They can smell you just like you're hunting them down or tracking them down. And then they've got, what do you call it, a sound structure with them that can actually make you sick. I've heard.
The infrasound.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I always think, you hear them talking about cloaking and all of that stuff. I honestly don't think they're cloaking. With that, the way their hair is, all they have to do, it's just like fishing line. You put a translucent fishing line in the water, it disappears. Well, when you pull it,
it works on the basis of a crystal. How you turn it is, and how you are, and the light shining on it is what's going to produce. What color light or what it is, and maybe that's got some of that in. That hair sample or some samples that it's got that crystal type structure or, that translucent, like you said, that can make it like a chameleon.
And I don't know if anybody that's listening watched it, but a few weeks ago, Expedition X, which is Josh Gates and all them off the Discovery, they went in to Kentucky. And they actually recorded infrasound being produced. They took an instrument in to produce it themselves, and they was producing that 15 hertz or something like that, and they had no response. And then they bumped it up to 17 hertz and produced it again, and they got a response back at 17 hertz. And when they had it analyzed, they said that there's no animal in Kentucky. That was my wife. That's a she squatch. But they said that there's no animal in Kentucky that should be able to produce infrasound.
Right.
And I'm wondering if when they do that infrasound, if they don't vibrate and that higher shimmers to make it look like they're becoming cloaking or whatever.
Translution and
yeah. And I know there's a lot of people that knows more than I do, and I can only talk about what I've experienced. I've never experienced them.
That actually gives me a few ideas, of thinking, like you were saying, if it's a vibrational sound in their hair structures like that, man, you know what you can do with things like that?
Mm-hmm. And also, what I don't know if people realize it or not, infrasound hits different people different ways.
Oh, yeah.
So, the guy I was talking about, Tim Kumbo Baker, he was talking and telling me when I was down in Alabama, he was saying some people, it'll actually make them hallucinate. Some of them, it'll make them sick. And, different things to different people. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm wondering, and some of these people that say that they disappear and all that stuff, I'm wondering if they're getting zapped with that, and it's making them, it's messing with them to where they don't really know what's going on.
Right. Makes them disorientated, and lapse of memory or something.
The couple things that I bring up is the Patterson-Gimlin film. When she's walking across that, if she could cloak, why didn't she? Mm-hmm. That don't, because she looks at them, she knows that they're watching her.
Right.
So why didn't she cloak, and they wouldn't have been able to see her no more? Another thing is the mind speak. I've heard them talk. I know they've got a language without a doubt, because I've heard them do it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
But I've never had them mind speak.
One of them cussed you out once.
Yeah, I felt like that was a saying. But, if they can mind speak, then why are they doing wood knocks? Why are they doing yells and screams? All of that kind of stuff. If they can communicate telepathically, then why are they, doing that? If I could turn invisible and talk to my people that's with me without having to speak, I'd never turn visible.
We'd be,
Right.
we'd be the best hunting duo ever.
I kind of understand maybe why they would do the knocking and etc. from that point of view, because all of us are made different, and some of us can actually hear that. Some of our like our third eyes and the way we hear things, it's not calcified enough, so we can actually still hear them. But the ones that's got that process that don't understand that, or doesn't understand the vibration or frequencies or stuff like that, and when they hear it, they just don't realize what it is because they can't focus. It's a specific sound to them. When some of us, I think, can pick it up, it's like, hey, we're hearing what you're saying, but some people don't. Maybe that's why they're doing that knocking, because every one of us is different.
On my audio recorder, I have audio recorders that record for 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks, I go in and change them out. I had a juvenile, and the reason I say it's a juvenile is just what it was doing. It sat in front of that audio recorder and broke sticks for over 2 hours. You could hear the little twigs of snap, 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 snap. And I'm watching this on my computer screen, and here's all these little things, and I think I'm getting something. And then when I get to it, it's nothing but it sitting there breaking little twigs. And then you hear a big wood knock, and that's another thing. Usually when they wood knock, they knock one time. They don't do 3 times. It's one time. Any wood knock that I've ever recorded has always been one time. But you hear the big wood knock and the stick breaking, and it's gone for 3 or 4 hours, and then it comes back and does it for a couple more hours. So that wood knock told that little one to quit and come on, whatever, and but what Matthew's talking about, the one that I felt like was cussing me out, I accidentally messed their deer drive up. I was going in bow hunting, and it's in one of my research areas, and it's that time of morning. I walked the last probably 30, 40 yards without a light, and I always use a green light. I don't use a regular flashlight. And I get in, and I set my crossbow down, and I get ready to take my backpack off. And when I hunt on the ground. I don't hunt out of a tree. And I get ready to take my backpack off, and here comes this doe running down the ridge to me, and her eyes is about that big around, and you could tell she's freaking out. And she sees me, and she stops and looks at me, turns around, runs back up the ridge, is gone, and for maybe 5, 6 seconds, then here she comes again. And she done that 6 or 7 times, just back and forth, as fast as she could go. And I thought, what's this stupid thing of doing, because I ain't never seen one act like that. And by then I've set my backpack down. I've got my crossbow, and I thought, okay, I'll just wait for her to get close enough, and I'll get a shot. But she never did get close enough or stop, slow down long enough for me to get a shot at her. And finally, she went about half. And when she went up, every time she'd go up to the top, she would snort, blow their alarm sound, and she'd run back down to me, and then go up there and snort and blow and run back. Well, finally, she got about halfway in between, as far as I could see, where she was going and me, and she's just standing there looking in both directions like, what do I do? Yeah, and it was in early bow season in September, so I finally lost sight of her in the foliage and that kind of stuff. But about 45 minutes later, I hear 2 Bigfoots going up through the edge of the clear cut up above me, and they start yelling. And it actually sounded like they was, I mean, it was, I got tickled because it honestly sounded like they was cussing me out. And I was like, well, sorry. And I didn't know Yuns was here. And I honestly believe they'll put one up, get one at a certain point, and then they'll drive the animals to them. And then at that ambush point, the one that, the one that's going to catch them, I think when I come into where I was at, it had to go hide.
Mhm.
The reason I was hunting that ridge is because I know the deer like going up and down that ridge. And I think they had one station down there. And then when I come in, it had to leave and go hide and wasn't able to stay down there. And then when they seen that it messed up, they got back together and was going back across the mountain, across the ridge to my buddy's property.
Cool. Wow. Well, you guys definitely got a lot of experience, and that's for sure. And you guys are really safe on what you guys do. And I'd like to thank you guys. We're going to end it tonight because we did an hour and a half. It's getting late, and I know Matt's probably got to get up and go to work tomorrow. I think probably, don't you?
Yeah, I gotta go move mattresses.
But I know I can sit here and talk with you guys all night long. We've done that before for sure. And like I said, you guys have got some great experiences. Definitely go check out Tim Dills and Matt Dills on the Dills Outdoors. And you can find them on Facebook. And I think your dad said YouTube.
At YouTube. Our Facebook is just our names. We don't have a Dills Outdoors Facebook page, but we do have Dills Outdoors. What's up?
Yeah, definitely. I said definitely check you guys out on YouTube, Dills Outdoors, and see what these guys are doing. And like I said, Tim even posts up some stuff as well. I think you still post up stuff about Bigfoot once in a while too, don't you?
Yeah, on TikTok it's Tim Dills 13. So that's where I post most of my stuff at there, and I try to do it on YouTube and Instagram. All of them's Tim Dills 13.
All right. Well, like I said, definitely go check these guys out. They've got some great experiences, and they share with everybody on YouTube and TikTok. And like I said, they're more than welcome to come back on the show anytime they'd like, and
anytime you want us
as well. And definitely maybe have you come back on and talk a little bit more about Bigfoot. But like I said, I know tonight we were going to talk a lot about the hunting and stuff like that. And I hope a lot of people kind of caught what you guys are doing and some of the things that's happened, and, you know, and how safe you guys do stuff. And definitely go check them out, especially if you're putting out a little bit of teaching videos for maybe some of the younger kids too, that, you know, it's beneficial. Definitely go check Matt's YouTube out for the Dills Outdoors as well. So, but yeah, like I said, guys, thank you for stopping in tonight and talking with us. And we definitely going to have you guys back on in the future for sure. And we're going to set you backstage. Yeah, we're going to set you backstage, and we're going to close out the show. I got a couple of commercials we're going to show, and then we'll come back and talk to you. But I appreciate you guys coming on, and thanks for talking with us tonight.
Appreciate you, Bubba.
Yep. So I'll see you guys. See you guys here in a few minutes. Those guys are pretty awesome. I've known them for a while, and they've got some great stories they've told, and definitely some experiences they've got as well. And I'd really like to see those guys' YouTube blow up and their TikTok, you know, because like I said, they do some pretty cool stuff. So definitely go check out Dills Outdoors and Dills 13, I think he said it was. Definitely check that out and see their experiences firsthand. So what do you have coming up, Ms. Gwen?
What do we have coming up? Well, tomorrow night, I have what I call Manic Monday. We have 4 shows, basically from about 7 p.m. Eastern time to 11:30, 11:45 at night. So I'll be busy tomorrow afternoon. Wednesday, we have like 2 shows. And then Thursday is our show, Paranormal Surge. Yeah. And do you remember who we have this week?
I remember the part he played, but
Tony Moran.
Yep, Tony Durand. He played Michael Myers. Moran.
Yeah, Moran.
He played Michael Myers in Halloween. We will have him on Paranormal Surge Thursday night. So definitely come check us out for that show. And ask questions and pop in, and maybe he will answer them for you too.
Yes, he will. So please.
Most definitely. So, and
Please
check out
stop by.
definitely check out all the great shows on All Access Television or Network Television as well, with Miss Gwen Johns and the Serial Killers and Chasing Nightmares. And
Yep.
I can't keep track of all the names.
So many.
we keep adding for sure. Definitely.
Yeah,
for sure.
let's see. The first one is Bridging the Seen and Unseen with Shane McClain. Second one is myself, Luciana, Terry Brown, Blaine Rohan, and Thomas Patrick Gormley. And that's Serial Killers, Supernatural, and Murderers. Then we have Mark Wash with his Spirits, Shadows and Spirits. He's basically chatting about his Paracon and other things. We have a guest tomorrow night who's written some books, very interesting. And then we have Chasing Nightmares. And tomorrow night, we're actually going to be investigating a object that has things happen when you have it around. I won't call it haunted, but we're going to see what it is. So that'll be very interesting. So it'll be a busy afternoon and night. So,
like you said, this coming Thursday, we're going to have the actor Tony Moran. Played Michael Myers. And then the following Sunday, next weekend, I will have Thomas Patrick Gormley on the show.
Yep.
And we'll dig into some of the things that he's experienced throughout his career and talk to him about that. Because when we had him on last time, we had all four of you on, and I couldn't break it all down to enough to ask everybody everything. So now we all got you coming on individually. So, but yeah, definitely come check us out Thursday. But we got a couple commercials we're going to run here real quick. And the first one is for All Access Network Television. So check this out. Man, you definitely put together some awesome commercials there, Gwen. That's for sure.
Thank you. And I have to update it. That's not all. So, yeah.
I know we got some more coming for sure. One more thing. The event coming in July. I will definitely be there in Broadhead Manor for the Paranormal Rockdown. And here's what's going to happen. So stay tuned for this.
Brace yourself for the Paranormal Rockdown, July 18th and 19th, 2025 at the haunted Broadhead Manor. Friday night, rock out with Dead Amsterdam, Left on Red, and headliner Green Jelly. The music may not be the only thing shaking these walls. Rumor has it the spirits love a good beat. Will you meet one? Saturday, meet paranormal legends like Dave Schrader, Sam Baltrusis, and more. Enjoy thrilling workshops, tasty treats, and a live Zoom Q&A with Dustin Perry. Dive into the ultimate paranormal investigation with expert guides. or join a spine-tingling seance with Sam Baltrusis. Tickets are limited. Get yours now for an unforgettable weekend of music, mystery, and chills.
Definitely check out Paranormal Rockdown coming in July. So that's it for tonight, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you tomorrow on All Access Television Network, or Network Television. I'm tongue-tied tonight. All Access Network Television. And we'll definitely see you Thursday as well, and next week.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, guys. We're out of here.
Bye.